Very good evening, everyone. This is Rajendran here, joining from Market Calls, and welcome everyone to building a trading terminal from scratch using Python and prompting techniques. So we are in the day one of the training session here. So I hope my audio and video quality is good enough to kickstart. Please type yes, so that we can quick start with the session. So I hope the audio and video quality is good enough. Yeah, thank you, Vaibhav. So how about others? How about the audio quality? How about Chandrakant, Dhruv? I think Dhruv, I've been seeing you after a very long time. Jash and Rahul, Yash Gupta. Yeah, Rahul Edward. He's repeatedly attending most of our sessions. And Yash Gupta and Yogi. So I hope the audio and video quality is good enough to kickstart. All right, great. Thank you for the quick confirmation, everyone. And thank you, Chandrakant and Jitesh and everyone. So without further delay, let's quickly kickstart with the session. So it is going to be a 36 hours of mentorship program on building a trading terminal using Python. But let me clearly tell you one thing. We're not going to write not even a single line of code. Maybe here and there we may touch the code manually, but 99% of the code, we're going to write it using the prompting techniques. Most likely the model that we're going to use, the LLM model that we're going to use it to build the Python code is primarily we're going to use ChatGPT 4.0 model. And we also going to use Claude 3.5 Sonnet model for slightly advanced concepts, right? So something like building a real-time streaming WebSocket sort of thing, we're going to use mostly Claude Sonnet 3.5. So wherever there is going to be an enough complexity, we're going to use Claude Sonnet 3.5 model, or even within ChatGPT. Recently, we had some couple of advanced models like O1 Preview, and which is nothing but the Strawberry model, and O1 Mini. So these are the two models which is super advanced. So these are some of the models that we're going to use. So primarily two major models we're going to use. One is OpenAI's ChatGPT, and second one is Anthropic Claude models. So these are the two models that we're going to start with that. See a little bit about me. My name is Rajendran. I'm the creator of OpenAlgo. OpenAlgo is an open source, India's first open source algorithmic trading platform with a multi-broker connectivity. Almost close to close now, it supports 10 brokers. Right? It's a complete source code. The entire source code contains like 14,000 plus lines of Python and front-end applications, completely built using ChatGPT. So initially it was ChatGPT 3.5, now it is 4. And some of the models we used recently, we started using Claude Sonnet 3.5 models also. I've been in the market since 2006 onwards. I'm a kind of a derivative trader, mostly index derivative trader. And I'm also writing my thoughts, whatever the thoughts which is coming to my mind. Some of them could be a trading strategy. Some of them could be about market analysis. Some of them could be like market sentimental analysis and so on. So recently, I also writing about the various LLM models as well, how it can be used in uh, particularly for trading and investing concepts. I've been writing in market calls since 2007 onwards. Maybe close to close now, I would have been writing like 4,000 articles over the period of like what, 17 years. And yeah, the core objective of this course, I'll tell you. Now, what is the main objective is like the traders can be able to build a basic foundational trading terminal, probably a real-time web trading terminal with core features, right? Core essential features is what we're going to build. So that will be giving you a confidence to build anything, right? It's not just trading terminal. You can build anything. That is the kind of confidence that you will be getting at the end of this course. Any application using Python or maybe any kind of application. Right now, I don't think we can build only using Python. So now the models are highly advanced. So over a period of time, what I thinking is like learning to code is not going to be a skill. Building the application using the models, I mean, using those, whatever the language, I think that is the skill here going forward. trying to learn a programming language, trying to learn front end, trying to learn back end. I think that line is thinning out. So what we are going to teach is like we're going to teach you how to build a fintech application using prompting techniques, right? That is going to be completely modern. We're going to build not a simple college project kind of trading terminal. What we're going to build is like completely a full-fledged trading terminal with a proper front end, proper back end, proper security controls, proper modular code, so that the code could be easy to understand, easy to modify. And not only that, we will be building and deploying and maintaining a comprehensive stock market trading terminal. We'll be deploying it in the cloud as well. So cloud in the sense, maybe something like DigitalOcean, or maybe you can deploy it in Amazon AWS. So end to end, we're going to build a complete full stack trading terminal is what we're going to build on top of the broker API. So now the broker API we're going to choose is like one of the popular broker. Angel provides almost all the features, right? From historical data, you can get, if you want historical data, you can get the historical data. You want real-time WebSocket, they provide faster real-time streaming sockets, right? So they have a very decent uh, capabilities. Most of the capabilities they already built in already. So that I think we're going to use Angel application. So the same concept tomorrow you can apply to any broker, right? The problem is like different brokers, they use different API methodologies. So only the API methodologies changes, the messaging format changes, but more or less the prompting techniques are gonna be more or less the same, right? So the core architecture is gonna be like this. We're gonna build a trading terminal which contains Python Flask. Python Flask is more of an a Flask is a very popular library in Python to build a web application right from the scratch. And we are also going to use something like Tailwind CSS for beautification, for front-end beautification. Very easily, we can build an front-end beautification tool using the Tailwind. And Alpine JSS, probably if you want to build a dynamic, so make the application dynamic, we're going to use Alpine JS. And Daisy UI, again, for more beautification. Daisy UI is itself something which has been built on top of Tailwind CSS, right? So mostly if you want to make your trading terminal with a good user experience, then Tailwind CSS combined with Daisy UI is what we're going to use. SQLite, obviously, we're going to use it as a database, but tomorrow you can use any database. You can, if you want to switch to any database like MySQL, Postgres, so anything is possible. But for simplicity and to manage the database very easily, we're going to use a SQLite database. And then a broker REST API, as I said, we're going to use Angel API. We're going to use Angel's WebSockets. We're going to use Angel's quote API and order placing API, order modification, cancellation, everything that we're going to build. And as I said, there are two models we're going to use. One is ChatGPT. So inside ChatGPT, a lot of models are there: 4.0, O1 Preview, O1 Mini. So it depends upon the complexity. We'll be switching models. Regular purpose will be mostly using, or will be mostly sticking to ChatGPT 4.0 model. As I said, anything if ChatGPT is not able to solve, only then for speciality will be going towards Claude 3.5. I believe 80% of the thing what we are going to build, most likely it will be taken care by ChatGPT itself. So only if we are getting some trouble or ChatGPT is not able to solve certain complex problem, only then we're going to go towards a Claude Sonnet 3.5 model, right? And then, so for deployment, we're going to use Amazon AWS or DigitalOcean. I'll try to show you both as well, if in case if it is required. And if in case we need to spend extra time, I can also add more sessions as well. So at the end of the session, what you will be getting a complete full-fledged trading terminal that you can deploy in your own cloud. So that's what we're going to build over here, right? So Rahul Edward is asking, we do also automation and connect to trading view. See, this particular stuff, we are not going to involve any automation. But let me tell you, this is a basic core foundation to build any kind of complex automation. If you want to build, then this will be serving the very basics about that. But I would recommend if you want to do an automation or connect to TradingView, then you already have a ready-made application like OpenAlgo. You can connect with TradingView, you can connect with AMI Broker, you can connect with Python. Everything is possible with OpenAlgo, right? So what IDE that we're going to use, everything I'm going to explain, right? So I'm having a couple of, so today is going to be a very basic explainer. We're not going to spend too much into building a trading terminal. Tomorrow only we're going to start with building a trading terminal. Piece by piece, we'll be building everything from the scratch, right? So today is going to be a basic explainer. I'm going to explain what libraries that we're going to use, what kind of IDE we're going to use. Everything I'm going to explain from scratch. So the core features that we're going to build is like, we're going to build a real-time watch list, like how a normal web terminal like Kite or something like Upstock's trading terminal, or how they manage their watch list. Similarly, we are also going to manage our own real-time watch list. And we're going to place orders from the watch list. Not only placing orders, you can also cancel, modify. So all those features that we're going to build in, including the GTD orders. So that is going to be very comprehensive. And on top of that, we're going to build, not mentioned here, we're also going to manage the master contract details in a separate database. So that is one of the most important thing. And then we're going to build a trailing stop loss feature, some of the advanced features that we're going to build in. So trailing stop loss features, M2M based square off, automated time based square off. I haven't included automated time based square off, but I think that is one of the core feature. So you set the time automatically at that time. Whatever the positions are there, it will get automatically got closed off. So that we're going to build in. And voice based trading systems, right? So yeah, so you just speak and then let's say like buy Reliance 100. So automatically the web-based trading terminal should be able to process those voice-based trading system, and it should be placing orders in the backend, and keyboard-based scalping orders. So you just play with the up, down, left, right key like a video game, and automatically those keyboard clicks will be automatically converted into an orders. So mostly for fast traders, scalpers, or those who want to trade some quick orders, keyboard-based scalpers will be beneficial. So as I said, this is not going to be a game changer for algorithmic traders, because we're not going to talk about any algorithmic trading strategies as such. So what we're going to do is like, we're going to build a trading terminal right from the scratch. I'm very clear about that, but this will serve as a foundational uh, skill to make or to build your own algo trading terminal in a very comprehensive manner, even if you don't know Python. But I'm sure some basic Python skill is very much necessary. So if in case, how many of you are very new to Python, by the way? So you can just type it out in the chat box so that I get a fair idea. Like if you are like already 1 year experience or 2 year experienced. So if you could give me an idea, we can relatively change the things accordingly. Okay, Yogi is new. Dhruv Dani is new. Abhijit knows some basics of Python. Yash Gupta, 1 year experienced. Chandrakant Gadia is like basic. Santosh Kumar is new to Python. All right, so many people are quite new to Python. I'm sure some of them could be already experienced as well. But I think the way the LLM models has been recently developed, I think the knowledge of these LLM models are getting super exponential of late. Every time a new model is getting introduced, it's getting more robust and robust and robust. So that I think going forward, nobody needs to learn the core concepts of Python, right? So because these models are very good in creating the programming, Python programming, and it is also good in solving the issues as well. So if in case, if I want to debug an issue, if I want to fix certain issues, I say where the issue is, the model is quite good enough to fix those issues. I mean, you're going to see through all those things live. But what is recommended, I'll tell you. Some basic knowledge of Python is recommended, right? And more than that, some basic concepts like how to operate. If I want to build a trading application, what are the essential knowledge that I need to learn? So that is what today is all about. Okay, Vaibhav says I had used pandas many times. Intermediate experience. Okay, that's great. So Maybe if in case if you feel like you need to learn some basics of Python, we also have some basic certification course. We are planning to arrange as a complimentary edition. With we are trying to we are trying to give it to you. If in case not still, there are a lot of plenty of YouTube tutorials are there. Probably it's there in every language, local language like Tamil, Hindi, English, Kannada, everywhere. All the languages, those Python basic stuff has been covered by many people. But what we essentially covered is like we try to cover it from the financial market perspective, right? So maybe it could be if you're a trader or an investor, so we cover it from that angle. So if possible, tomorrow I try to arrange those core certification course as well. So let's see how best we can do that. And if at all that could be coming as a complementary edition, right? All right. So the tools required, what are the tools required is like almost a zero cost is what totally it requires. So you don't need to spend not even a single penny to build an entire trading terminal. So Python 3.10 or higher is what recommended. I'm going to use mostly 3.11. The latest edition is 3.12. So anything should be fine. Anything above 3.10 should be fine. And the Python 3.10 by default, it comes with pip manager. So you don't need to have a special installation. And we need to manage virtual environment. So virtual env or something like similar thing is what virtual environment or poetry, something like that is what is highly recommended for beginners. Virtual environment will do good. So virtual env is what we need to have. And then we will be using Git SCM and a GitHub account to host our codes. So what are the codes that we're going to build? I will be hosting it in the GitHub. So later on also you can refer those codes as well. And all the prompting techniques, whatever that I'm going to use or I'm going to build, everything will be shared in a PDF format, right? And what are the presentations that we are having here? Everything will be provided as part of the course. And end of the day, you will be able to access the codes as well as prompts as well as the people. All the content material you are attending the next session. Before you attending the next session, it will be on, I mean, it will be onboarded in a timely manner. And then as I said, model, these are the latest, but every now and then a new model keep coming in, right? So everyone's been always introduced. After Microsoft, even even Twitter is in the race, like X AI, they are in the race. Many people are in this race. Many big guys are there in this race. And as I said, SQLite Studio, which is like a free tool. It's kind of a free database. Almost worldwide, majority of the people use SQLite for building compact applications. Angel trading account, of course. So why can't we build multiple brokers? If you ask me, I'll tell you, because single broker itself, it's going to take an effort. And multi-broker, later on, we can convert that into a multi-broker. But immediately speaking, we're going to use some robust broker. So Angel is what we're going to consider. There's a lot of robust brokers are there. Why Angel, if you ask me? The simplicity of the API is very easy to handle. And it provides vast features, which is required to build the core features of a simple trading terminal, right? And if in case if you want to ask questions, there is an unmute button, right? If in case if you're feeling like voice is that, you connect with some sort of an Chrome, Chrome kind of stuff. So Chrome browser or Firefox browser. So Vaibhav is saying voice is breaking. Yogi is saying like, is there is a problem in the audio? So Josh is saying like your voice is lagging a little. Okay, everyone says like voice is breaking. Host voice is breaking up a lot. Just give me a sec. If I can try to connect with some other net. So what happened is like I think I'm in Chennai today. So I'm staying in a hotel near to airport. So probably the Wi-Fi speed is little. Let me check with the speed here. It's fairly decent, but not too good, not too bad. It's okay, kind of like 33 Mbps is what I've seen in the somewhere. But today I'm traveling, so I'll be back to Bangalore tomorrow. So probably the connectivity and voice quality is highly uh, good there. But I think the connectivity is still an issue over here. I think some connectivity issue is there. It's pretty slow today. Morning it was like some 30 Mbps. I think now it has been like 12 Mbps. Yeah, I believe. I think probably today maybe sometimes the voice might break because it's like only 14 Mbps. Yeah, but upload is pretty decent. Morning it was like pretty damn low, like 4 Mbps or 5 Mbps. But upload speed is pretty good. But I think this should be good enough to handle basic session like today. I don't know. So Dhruv is asking, is it preferable to use Mac or Windows? So might be using Windows. So it doesn't matter whether you're using Mac or Windows. But if you're having Mac, definitely I prefer you to use Mac. Right? The reason is Mac is even more faster. Maybe some small command changes will be there. Anyways, I'll be telling you for both Mac and Windows. But there'll be a small Mac will be faster, way faster. Sometimes Windows is pretty slow in building virtual environment kind of stuff. That I had seen that if I am trying to build a virtual environment in Windows, it will be more or less taking me like sometimes 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Whereas in Mac, it will be very much instant. So Mac is highly preferable for particularly for coding. Yes, absolutely. But if you are using Windows, it doesn't matter, right? So maybe you might be building a little slower, but Mac is even more faster. The experience is really good. I enjoy building using my Mac more than my Windows. But here specifically, we are doing Windows because larger audience, I believe that we are going to use Windows a lot, right? So ideally, it doesn't matter whether you're going to use Windows or Mac. Experience will be always going to be better in Mac. So Vaibhav is asking, do we need to create an Angel One account? Yes, if you really want to try it out, whatever I'm just building, you also want to simultaneously build. We are not affiliated with any other brokers. So if you want to open an account, you have to directly contact the brokers and you can open the account, right? Yes. So whatever that we're going to do it tomorrow onwards, we'll be start building the application from the scratch. We'll be laying the foundation for building the trading terminal. So today, as I said, it's going to be a pretty damn basic. So Abhijit is asking, does Angel have tick-based input data? See, the WebSockets, whatever that we are receiving is nothing but the tick-based input data, right? They don't provide historical ticks, I believe. But yes, if you want time series data, the basic what they will give is like 1 minute backfill is what almost every broker is providing, not just only Angel. Every Angel provides only uh, 1 minute historical data. Angel is providing tick-based data. So what they are saying is like they are taking the data from TBT, they are processing it, and on top of TBT, they are providing the 1 minute tick data so that their candles will value will be highly accurate. But still, even Upstocks is not providing tick by tick data. Even though they are using tick by tick data, end of the day, they are providing historical 1 minute data only. That is the base data they are providing, right? Almost every broker, they are providing the same thing. 1 minute base historical data is what almost every broker is providing. All right, so we're going to start with a basic Python IDE, and we're going to use primarily VS Code, Visual Studio Code, right? Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So not Microsoft Visual Studio. It's Visual Studio Code, right? So there's a difference there. VS Code is uh, an IDE, integrated development environment, means that is where we're going to write our codes, we're going to manage our codes, and we're going to publish it to GitHub account from there. So why VS Code? If you ask me, it's one of the top popular choice among the developers. Otherwise, a lot of IDEs are there, right? So some of the IDEs are like PyCharm is there for Python coders, and then Spider is there, again very famous for Python coders. But of late, in the last couple of years, last 5 years, the VS Code has been getting more and more superior. Almost every developers, not just Python developers, if you want to build a front end, back end, like database guys, everybody is using VS Code, right? So we are also going to use the what the mainstream is using. We're also going to use the same thing. We're also use VS Code. Experience is truly good with the VS Code. And recently there are more popular AI based IDE had came like Cursor AI, where you can automatically build codes. Yes, even in VS Code is also possible, but to some extent, right? And VS Code also quite famous for its extensions. Extensions are like kind of what we can say, like if if I'm having an Android app, on top of that I'll be able to install a lot of Android applications, right? So likewise, VS Code, they also have their own store. They also have their own marketplace where I can install tiny apps, which enhances my coding capabilities faster. And we're going to use tons of Python libraries. We will be discussing one by one. And then mostly we're going to build everything in a virtual environment. So maybe if you're a beginner, when you're building a smaller applications, you don't need a virtual environment a lot. Maybe if you're in a learning phase. But once you are getting into building something like a full-fledged applications or commercial application or a kind of full stack, any kind of full stack application, definitely we have to work in some sort of virtual environment, particularly when it comes to Python, or we may have to use some Docker kind of environment, right? So here we're going to use a virtual environment, and we're also going to set up some of the web application components, and we're going to learn how to use a simple Flask application, how to create. We're going to learn some basics about what is a GET request, what is a POST request, and we're going to learn understanding the routes. So let's go and get into the basic of that. So I'm going to have my VS Code here. So here is VS Code. So if in case you are very new to VS Code, if you haven't even installed VS Code, it's highly recommended that you go and install VS Code. I'll also show you the procedure from where you can install it. I had done the complete set of procedures over here. You just simply go for market calls, we install VS Code. I think today so this one, ultimate guide to install Python environment in Visual Studio Code. So here is the complete basic setup you have to follow. I think the network is pretty slow today. Maybe that's one of the reasons you might be hearing and cracking voice or lagging issues. So here is a step-by-step procedure I had given. So you have to follow this procedure. First, you have to install Python. So you might be getting something like this. You have to install it. When you're installing, ensure that you're also enabling the add Python to exe and the use admin privileges when installing py.exe. So these two choices has to be added. These are the mandatory choices. I believe if at all, if it is disabled, ensure that you are enabling those features. So you can go and download the Python version from here. So you just go to python.org/downloads. So that is where the complete repository has been maintained. 3.12, I think that is a running version. Yeah, so 3.12.7. So you can download the latest version itself. No worries. So you can go and download the latest version. Otherwise, 3.13, it's in right now it's in pre-release, right? So I think going forward, Python 3.13 is what going to get released, but right now the version is Python 3.12.7. It doesn't matter if in case if you want to install the older versions, here you can go and download the older version, whichever the version you want. In case of Windows, I am using 3.11. I don't know whether I am going to use Mac or not. If I am going to use Mac, in my Mac, I'm already using 3.12, right? So ultimately, it doesn't matter whether you're using 3.11 or 3.12. Um, it should be doing good, even if 3.10 also. Anything above 3.10, completely fine. Even 3.9 also fine only. All right, so here is my VS Code. And in this VS Code, what you can have is like a lot of extensions. So if you have this extension here, it's a lot of extension. You can use it. One of the extensions is like Python. So this is from Microsoft. You can install it. You can search for a certain extensions. Something like, let's say, one of the extension that I'm recently using is like Cloud Dev. So you can search from the marketplace, and then yeah, from here you can go and install. Just click on that, install that application. So this is from one of the interesting application which I've been using in my Mac a lot. Of course, I haven't used in Windows yet. But these are some of the basic extensions. So these extensions are like kind of plugins which will enhance your coding abilities. So which will bring your faster productivity purpose. We'll be using this extension a lot. And in this tutorial itself, so the tutorial, let me bring that tutorial here for you. In my uh, Python tutorial, the VS Code installation tutorial, I showed you from where you can install the VS Code. It's code.visualstudio.com. From there, you can go and install it. So once you're done with the installation, you have to install some basic Python extension. It's highly recommended you install three major extensions. One is Python, Pylance, Jupyter. So something like Pylance, if you want to install, just go to the extension, go to the VS Code, type the extension name. So this is for extension. So if you keep your cursor there, it shows what is it. So go to the extension. In the extension, you just type Pylance. So Pylance will bring you an IntelliSense kind of, if you're even new to Python programming, Pylance will be very much helpful. So it helps you to educate faster, like it helps you to code faster, particularly if you're a new Python programmer, right? So it's performance rich language server for Python and VS Code. Pylance is something, a very basic thing. And then Python, Pylance, Jupyter, particularly if you want to do some data science kind of projects, particularly in terms of trading, you want to build some strategies. Or want to do some backtesting, anything related to you want to do some statistical stuff, backtesting optimization, then Jupyter will be highly recommended. So if you want to learn Python, or even if you are very new to Python, then Jupyter extensions are very, very powerful, right? So here is where I showed you all the three extensions that I had already installed. And then use, this is the most important thing, Control-Shift-P, that will open the command palette, right? So maybe if you're using Mac, it is like Command key, Shift and P. That is what you have to press. And there you have to type Python select interpreter. So I'll show you. So in my case, I'll go here, Control-Shift-P, right? That opens a command palette. This is a command palette. I'll show you once again, Control-Shift-P. Control-Shift-P. Yeah, that opens. And from here, you just simply type Python select interpreter. In my case, it's already there. So I just select that Python select interpreter. From here, you have to select the version for the very first time. So in my case, I selected Python 3.11. And then now, in order to test it out, what you have to do is, or what I'm going to do, I'll tell you. I'll go to File. I'm going to open a new folder. I'm going to open some existing folder. It can be existing folder, or you can create a new folder. In my case, what are the code that we're going to do today? This is day one of the session, right? So I'm going to keep it inside Python Trading Terminal. So inside Python Trading Terminal, I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call that as a day 01. Day 01 of Python Trading Terminal. So of course, we're going to do some basic stuff. So select the folder and open the folder. So now this folder contains empty project. We're not, as of now, we're not having anything else. Now what we are going to do is like, so we're gonna, so far what we have done, I'll tell you. So we had done the VS Code, we installed VS Code, we installed basic Python, we installed VS Code extensions, three major extensions I told you, Python, Pylance, and Jupyter. and then go to the Control Shift P, select the interpreter, Control Shift P here, select the Python interpreter, and then select, in my case, as I said, Python 3.11.7, or in your case, it could be Python 3.12 or 10 or 9, whatever it is. So select that. And first thing is like checking whether the Python code works or not. So go to the new terminal, and this opens a command line trading terminal. Just simply type Python. So if it enters into the Python shell, this is the Python shell. If it enters into the Python shell, that means your Python code is working fine. Otherwise, maybe you might be facing some issues. Maybe it may not be working good. You just also can try like something like 10 plus 20. It does some basic mathematics. If it is working, means your basic thing is working good. Or you can also try some basic print function. Right? So that means it is working fine. The shell is working fine. Basic Python application is working fine. Now, what we need to do is like we have to install the virtual environment. Right? So let me exit from this. We don't need to use the shell anymore. So let me exit the shell. Now, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to create a virtual environment. So I'm going to do something called pip install virtual environment. Right? So if in case if you don't know how to install the virtual environment, what you can do is like you open ChatGPT and ask there. So anything, any procedure that you don't know, right? So right now I'm going to use, this is a simple question. So I'm going to redirect the question to GPT 4.0 model itself. I'm going to say, provide me step-by-step procedure to install what? Virtual environment. Virtual environment. You can also say like I'm using what version that you're using. You just say that I'm using 3.11 version and VS Code, right? So you can also say ready. Say like this is your path. So this is the project I'm in, and that's what my terminal is showing. So just give maximum information. As I said, Chandrakant is asking, have you tried cursor ID, especially all right, I'm sorry, some disruption. I think is the audio and video quality is good. Can anybody confirm me? How about now? Like I'm truly sorry. Like it's because of some bad internet connectivity. I know. Is it better now? Okay. Abhijit is saying voice is better now. Duru says it's good now. Yash is saying it's clear now. Vaibhav is saying clear. Okay. All right. I'm really sorry, guys, but definitely from tomorrow onwards, we'll be back to like proper infrastructure, right? So you don't need to worry about that. Today I was like kind of traveling, so I'll be I'm having my flight around midnight, like 11:30. I'll be traveling back to Bangalore, so we should be in a robust framework from tomorrow onwards. All right, so here is the installation guide which I got. So what it's saying is like you just navigate to your project directory, and then you install this. So you have to install this pip install virtual environment. So that's what you have to install it. So a normal pip install virtual env will do. So what you can do is like, so pip install virtual env, right? So anytime, any project that we're going to create, first thing what we need is virtual environment. I'll tell you what the virtual environment is all about. See, small projects, if I'm going to do, it's going to be a simple Python application. If I'm going to send it to somebody else's machine, it is going to work good. It's very easy to install. But when a large project, when we are going to build a large project, we're going to use a lot of Python libraries. So maybe some libraries might be keep going like 60, 70, or even sometimes 100 plus libraries. So whichever the libraries that has been installed, we need to keep a track of it. And different libraries will have different versions. So for example, if I show like pip uh, list, it'll be showing the tons of library that I had installed in this machine globally. But I don't need all these libraries. I need only a special set of libraries. So tomorrow, if I'm porting to some other machine, I need that exact versions only. So that is one of the best thing. What we need to do is like we have to use something like a virtual environment. So first, what we had done, we had installed this pip install virtual environment that will install the library. So pip is nothing but an Python library manager that will maintain those libraries. You can install new library, you can upgrade those libraries, or even you can delete those libraries. If in case if you want to uninstall, you can uninstall it. So right now I'm installing. Okay, so we installed the virtual environment. Now I'm going to type Python VNV, Python -m VNV space VNV. Now what this will do is like it will create a virtual environment. So this will create a Python virtual environment under the folder name VNV. So VNV, wherever I'm seeing VNV, I know that that's a virtual environment. So that's a protocol I follow. You can use any name, but VNV is a standard name I'm going to give. So maybe if you're using Mac, your coding, your command will be different. You have to use Python 3 instead of Python, right? So Mac and Linux, if you're using Mac or Linux, you cannot use Python. They don't accept it. So from Python 3 version onwards, the command is like Python 3. You have to use Python 3 -m VNV space VNV. And you can see that it's creating a library. And since it is Windows, as I said, it's going to take a lot of time, right? So sometimes even like 2 minutes, it may take 2 to 3 minutes. So yeah, it's pretty fast in my case, but whereas in Mac, it'll be instant. So at least here it was like spending like some 15 seconds. Okay, so I am into this virtual environment. So now I have to activate this virtual environment. If you see that under this virtual environment, I'm seeing the script folder. Under script folder, there is a thing called activate. So what I'm trying to do is like I create a virtual environment. I want to get into the virtual environment. So if I want to execute any application inside the virtual environment, I have to first activate the environment. So if I want to activate the environment, what I'll do is like, so probably I think it would have been covered in the part itself. So you create a virtual environment and activate the virtual environment. So you just say like, so dot VNV. In my case, what? So I want to get into this virtual environment folder. So dot slash VNV slash inside VNV, I'm having the folder name called scripts. you just type SC and then give a tab automatically. If it is able to recognize it, then it brings all the complete value, and then activate. So AC and then give a tab, it should be able to get that activate. And now enter. So now if you could see that the VNV it displays over here in the trading table. Maybe if you're not able to see that, I'll just increase the size by pressing Control plus. So probably this text font should be a little bit bigger. If you could see here, the virtual environment, we are inside the virtual environment. That means what? Now we are into the project and we can execute the project. So only if I am able to activate the virtual environment, I'll be able to execute, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is like we're going to build a very basic, simple Flask application. So far what we have done, we had created an virtual environment. So we had installed the virtual environment and then we created a new virtual environment. So here it says ENV, but in my case, I used what? VENV, right? That's the standard protocol I follow. It's up to you whether you want to use ENV or VNV. It's up to you. And then we activated the virtual environment using this procedure. Maybe if you are using a Mac, maybe the command could be a little bit different. So you can ask, what is the command? Command to activate virtual environment if I am using Mac, right? So if you are using Mac, then it changes accordingly. So right now, it senses me that I'm using Windows. The way I had given the path, C drive uses Dell, it understands. The ChatGPT recognizes that I'm using Windows, right? So it given me the procedure for Windows itself. Maybe if you are using Mac, as I said, the procedure could be a little different. You may have to use the source VNV / activate. So the command is little different for activating the virtual environment. That's the only basic thing. Rest coding wise, everything is same. Whatever I code in Windows, you're going to use the same thing for coding in Mac or Linux. It doesn't matter what platform that you're using. Only for activating and deactivating or running the Python application, it is going to be little different commands. Rest everything same, right? Maybe if one of the day I'll also try to show you how you can build using Mac terminal also. So if in case we have time, right? So any questions that you want to ask, you can, there is also an unmute button there. I mean, there is a hand button there. You can raise the hand. I can unmute you and you can speak back and you can ask questions, right? All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build a basic Flask web application. So build a basic Flask web application. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to build a very simple basic Flask application. So it's asking me to set up a virtual environment. So since I asked, like, I want to install in Mac, now it started giving me like how to set up a virtual environment for Mac. This is the command for Mac. Maybe if I'm using Windows, this is a command for activating the virtual environment. So this will create a virtual environment and this will activate the virtual environment. So the only thing is like I'm using, instead of ENV, I'm using VNV folder. So I just simply say like I want to use an VNV folder. So you just say that automatically it memorizes that and it always create an VNV folder only. So later on we can do that. So install the Flask application. So now I am inside the Flask application. So inside this application right now, if I look into if I say like pip list, you can see that now inside this, there are only two libraries are there. There are two libraries are there. You know, right? Python is quite famous for its libraries. You want to have a data feed from Yahoo Finance, we have a special library for that. I mean, Y Finance. Or you want to do an backtesting, we have a special, tons of libraries are there for backtesting, like Vector BT. And then we have like Quant Connect, like Lean, and then Pi Backtest, Backtrader. A lot of libraries are there. Like tons and tons of libraries are there for only for backtesting alone. Backtesting, live trading, paper trading. For everything, there has been some sort of libraries. So even if you want to do machine learning, tons of libraries are there. Something creative out of it. So here, what we're gonna do is like we're gonna install our first library. So pip install Flask. Right. So Flask is a library for building a web application, a simple web application, or even a complex web application. Now our entire trading terminal we're gonna build on top of Flask. Right. So I'll say like pip install Flask. I think that should be installing not only Flask, but also it installs some of the dependency libraries. You can see here it is installing a lot of other libraries as well. So markup safe, it's dangerous, Colorama, Blinker, Vercel, Jinja, Click, Flask. So a lot of libraries it is installing, right? So Click is something to do with some version management, and Jinja is for some HTML templates. If you want to build some dynamic HTML templates, Vercel is mostly for login, logout kind of applications, some security related applications. It's dangerous, mostly for building some API secret keys and something like that. Right. So every dependency libraries has its own importance. So now if I go and type pip list, this will list all the libraries which are installed inside my project. So I'm into my project. I'm into day one of Python trading terminal. I'm not having all the Python libraries installed, but now only a selected list of libraries I had installed. You can see these are the libraries which has been installed, right? So you can see here like Blinker, Click, Colorama. Flask is the main library. And to run the Flask, we need supporting libraries. So these are some of the supportive libraries which already got installed. And you can see that the recent version is Python Flask 3.03. So right now it is Flask Python 3.03. Maybe let's say you are moving this application. We build some trading terminal and I am moving to some other machine which contains some very old version of Python Flask. Maybe they are supporting like Python Flask 2.0. In that case, the code may not work. That is where the virtual environment comes in. So in the virtual environment, I say like, boss, my entire application run only on this particular version only. So don't change the version. You install the same version only. So that is the instruction that I have to tell them. Now, how I will tell them? I will tell them in the form of requirements.txt file. I take a snapshot of all these content, all the libraries, I take a snapshot of it, and then I'll put it in Notepad using a simple command, right? So there's a command called pip freeze, and a greater than symbol followed by requirements.txt. Now, when I say this, so you see this right now, we are having this VNV, right? And then I'm having this requirement.txt file. So if I'm going to type enter, you can see that it creates a requirement.txt file. Now, this requirement.txt file contains all the libraries, what are the libraries which is required for the applications to work. It contains all those things, right? So Blinker is there, Click is there, Colorama is there, Flask, It Dangerous, Jinja 2, Mark Save, Vercel. So this requirement.txt file says like, yes, this entire application, whatever that we are building today, it requires these exactly the same version, not some other version, not some latest version, but this application will work perfectly if you're going to use in Mac, use in Windows, or you're going to use it, you run it in the cloud. This application will work exactly the same way how it works in all the machines. It should be working everywhere exactly same. Because different machines will have different versions, right? So tomorrow, let's say another 3 years down the lane, I'm going to install Flask. It is not going to be 3.03. Maybe it could be like 3.1.2 something. It might have more and more features. Every new application will have new features. Same function, which is working right now, may not work in the future. So we need exact same Python libraries so that we can replicate it. It doesn't matter. Even 3 years later, you're going to run this exact same code using the exact same library. The application should be working smoothly. So that is why every large projects will have requirements.txt file. So maybe I'll show you one of my application. Almost every application, whatever I had built. So GitHub/market calls, if you go there, So that is like OpenAlgo. So if you go to OpenAlgo or any application, any Python application that you go and check it out, there will be always a requirement.txt file. Requirements.txt file. That will show you what are the list of applications that you need, what version you need, exactly it lists those app versions. So some 66 libraries are required to run those things, right? But probably some main libraries could be like some 10 or 20. Other things could be like mostly like dependency libraries. Right? Even in our case, what we had only Flask is our main application, and rest all of them are what? Dependency libraries. These libraries required Flask to run smoothly, right? Okay, so we have this requirement.txt file, and now we're gonna build our very basic, the very first application is what we're gonna build. So let's go on build that. Pip install Flask, we are done with that. Now we have this very basic Python application. So I'm gonna copy this. Okay. So I'm gonna create a new Python code name called app.py. You see that there is a two icons over here. These are two important icons. This will create a file and this will create folders, right? So in our case, I'm gonna create an uh, maybe what I can do is like I can try to create a folder instead. So I'll delete all these things. Okay. So I'll try to showcase you right from the scratch. So I'll delete everything. So I'll say like I'm going to create a basic Flask application. I'm going to create a new folder outside VNV. So here is my VNV. I'll create outside VNV. I'll say like basic Flask application. Okay. So I'll also get into this basic Flask application as well. CD space basic Flask application. I enter into the directory into this basic. You just simply say type CD space basic and then give a tab. Automatically, you'll be able to get into that and then type enter. You should be inside that folder. Now, so I'm inside that folder. Inside that folder, I'm going to create an a requirement.txt file, right? So what I'll do, I'll just again do the same thing. Pip freeze requirements.txt file. So that's what I'm going to do here. Just and I type enter. And automatically this will create a requirement.txt file inside my application folder, right? And then what I'm also going to do here is I'm also going to do this app.py. So inside this folder, I create a new file. I'm going to give that name as app.py, and that opens up the app.py automatically. Just paste the code, whatever the code that we got from the ChatGPT. This is a very basic Python application, basic web application, basically. So Flask is a library. There are a lot of libraries that we use to build a web application. Flask is for the beginners, right? So there are a lot of powerful libraries are there. Other libraries are like Django is there. Fast API is there, right? So these are like kind of robust framework. But Flask is something, even if you're a beginner, you can build any complex stuff out of it using, you can build it. Like it's kind of a toy tool. Anybody can build a simple web application very easily. Even complex frameworks also you can build around Flask. Even Netflix kind of companies, Zerodha, they are using Flask a lot, right? So many big enterprises, they use Flask for some simple to complex tasks. They are using it. So yeah, you can build an enterprise level application using Flask as well. Even big enterprises are using it, even though not very aggressively, they're not using it. But yes, to solve some major simple task, they are routinely using it in their tools. Like, so here is our first application. If I want to run my application, what I have to do is like I entered into my folder where my app.py is there. You can also type ls. You can check it out whether are we in the right directory or not. So where the app.py is there and requirement.txt file is there. I'm going to just type Python app.py, right? And then you just simply type enter. That should be running the application in a particular web URL in our local host. So the local host URL is what? http://127.0.0.1 and followed by that it runs in a port 5000, right? So I'm just going to control click. Now automatically it opens up the browser. You can see that it opens up the browser and it says like Hello Flask, welcome to the basic web app. Now, what you can find here is in our code, if you are seeing this for the very first time, if you are trying to build a Flask application for the very first time. So we have something called route, right? So this route is the home route slash we're having a basic function here. Home function is what we are having. The def is the thing we use to define a function. And we are also having an about function, about route over here. The about route, what it does is like, let's say if I go and say like slash about, in that case, I'll be saying like this is an about page, right? So when I actually what is happening, I'll tell you, when I invoke this URL, when I say like 127.0.0.1:5000/about, it calls my Python application, means it calls the backend. So it goes to the backend, it goes to my Python application, it checks for where the slash about route is there, and it executes the following function. It executes this following function. Now, what this function does, it returns a text content, and that text content is displayed on my screen. But let's say I don't want to have some text content. I want to have some proper something like I want some proper web page. Let's say I want to build some trading terminal, right? So I just want this home route to display something like an open terminal. So let's say I just modify, I'm going to modify the code here. I'm going to say, so this is a home route, right? This is called as an home route, slash is the route. This is an about route. So let's modify this entire code. Now what we're going to do is like, we are going to change the coding here, entire coding, we're going to change it. I'm going to say, I want to build a trading terminal, right? So trading terminal, I'll also give a name to that. The trading terminal is going to be called as like open terminal. That's a name. So provide me. So I'll also give some detail about the open terminal. So basically open terminal is a trading terminal for traders built using Python. Okay, some basic detail is what I'm going to give. I'm not going to give too much detail about that. And we're also going to use like Python. We're going to use like Flask, Angel account, Angel API, Angel Smart API. So Angel One Smart API. So I'm just giving some detail about that. I just wanted to fill the slash route and about route. So I want so what I want, I'll tell you. I want some slogan with minimalistic front end. Probably I also want some front end to be displayed in some HTML format. Some minimalistic front end with Tailwind CSS, because Tailwind CSS, if I'm gonna use, it is gonna make the website beautiful. So Tailwind CSS. Okay, that's what I want to do. So what I want to build is like I want to rewrite. What are the code here? This is a very basic code, right? It's giving some text content. I don't want a plain vanilla text content. I want some beautiful pages. So what I'll say, like rewrite the slash and slash about route accordingly. So that is what I'm gonna give the information here. So now it is gonna restructure the code. What are the code which it was having earlier? So this is how my Flask application looks like, right? So this is my folder structure. Even though I don't have this env folder, I'll also explain my folder structure also later on. Because we are in a very basic page. So now it is revising the code and it is updating the code accordingly. So now it says, like, you can see that it is importing Flask. It's importing like Flask and render template. And for displaying beautiful websites, it is also including HTML index.html pages. So it's going to render a template from index.html. So I have to create an index.html page or a template, which is mostly, it's called as a Jinja template. So what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to create a new folder name called templates. So it should be exactly the same name as template, everything in small letters. So inside templates, I'm going to create something called index.html. It's a file, so I have to go out and create and click on a file name. I'm going to say like index.html, right? So this is where my template is going to be there. When this route is called, we're not going to send text. We're going to send an HTML to the front end. Front end is what we see in our browser, right? Backend is like what happened in the Python code. And then we have an about code. The about route is now, it's going to redirect, it's going to render a template called about.html. So I have to build another about.html. So I'm going to build inside the templates. I have index.html. I'm going to build about.html, right? So index.html. Let's see what we're going to do here. So this is our modified code, right? This is my Python Flask code. Now it has been modified. So here is my app.py. I'm going to just erase everything and then I'm going to paste the new code, right? So this is my new app.py. And I'm going to have this create HTML template. I'm having this templates.index.html. It is itself saying that inside template folder, you keep the index.html. Just copy the content and put this index.html over here, right? And then obviously at about.html. So we also go to the about.html, copy that and bring it over here. Now, since if you could see the code here, the debug is true, the debug is enabled. So this is where the main app is running. So when the debug is enabled, I don't need to refresh my browser here. I mean, I don't need to restart the application or cut down the application. Now, if I can directly go to the application, so here is my application running. If I again go to the main route, 127.0.0.1:5000, that is the port we are running. If I enter, it says like basic web app. That's not. Maybe I just try to restart the application. Maybe did I saved it? I saved it. Yeah, it's reloading. So maybe I don't know why it haven't reloaded earlier, but it had reloaded now. Let's say. Yeah, so now we can see that it's like saying like open terminal. Now I'm just calling the route. What is happening here? It is redirecting to my index.html. So this index.html having styling, it has some cool buttons, learn more. Maybe the learn more button, it's point to about. So you see that it's pointing to /about route. If I click on learn more, it is pointing to about open terminal. So it's like open terminal is a trading terminal for traders built using Python Flask Angel Smart API. With its minimalistic design and robust backend, it's engineered for speed and precision. So if I click on go back, it is pointing to again to my main route itself. So a simple front end and back end is what we had framed, right? So we had two routes. So we have simply two routes. One is index.html. And then we have /about is what we had. And then what else we had here? So if I configured my /route, it points to index.html. If I say /about, it says like about.html. All right. So a simple application is what? So when I press /, it is forwarding this application to the front end. It's pushing the index.html to the front end. So I'm seeing that Python application. So this is like a very simple web app, but a complex web app. What we're going to build is not a simple web app like this. Our web app is going to get complex, more and more complex later on. Maybe initially it is going to be like, we're going to learn this simple stuff here, how this works. But over a period of time, what we're going to get is like, we're going to get some complex trading terminal. So I'm sure now you might be familiar about this. Now, probably what we can also do here is like, so we built a simple basic web app is what we built, right? As of now, it doesn't has any database. It doesn't calls any basic broker API or something. But tomorrow onwards, we're going to build those things. Let me tell you how we can host it in something like an Vercel kind of account. So Vercel is like something like a place where you can host some simple web application. So this is a web application. Even though it right now it displays only website, doesn't streams any codes or something like that. It's a very basic web application because we are using something like a Python in the backend, and in the front end we are sending like what? We're sending an Tailwind CSS based HTML applications. So we are using Tailwind CSS here. That is what it makes the web application beautiful. So maybe I can also say like this about page, I want to have some more details. So let's say like some of the details that we're going to give. I'm going to give it in some of the details I already said, right? So these are the core features. So what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to take a screenshot of this. I'll say like, this is the core feature. I want to add it in the about page. Yeah, I'll add some more content. So this is an image that I am taking, and then I'm going to send it as an image prompt along with that. I'll say like, I'll go to ChatGPT. Now I'm going to give a clear, precise, pointed thing and say like modify the uh, modify the slash about route. So that's what I just want to say. Like I want to add the following information in about.html. About.html. Right. So let me add those things. So I'm just adding that about.html content. Now I'm going to type enter. So it's able to read those images. So it says like now it understands what we're gonna build. We're gonna build some real-time watch list, placing orders from the watch list. So it's building some basic stuff over here, right? So it's also updating about route in app.py. Nothing changes in the about.html. So but my about.html content is gonna change. In my Python code, nothing is gonna change. It's gonna be the same thing. But here is the updated code about.html. Let me copy this. See that it's just building a lot of codes, how it should look like, right? And then I'll go back to my code. I just simply erase everything and then I just paste the new code, save it, right? So now if I go back, the terminal front end, we haven't changed anything. But if I go to slash about, you can see that it's coming up with some basic core features. Maybe I'm not liking this. Maybe I need something like a beautiful trading terminal, some beautiful web page is what I need. I'll just simply say like I just want to write the code in a beautiful manner. I say like rewrite the code. So rewrite the about.html with beautiful and stylish UI and UX. UI means user interface. UX means user experience, like the look and feel. So that's what I just want some better look and feel is what I'm saying. So let's say I'll just type enter. I just want to write only the rewrite the about.html with a beautiful and stylish UI and UX. So now it is basically trying to rewrite the complete code. So what it's saying, like I had improved the layout, typography, overall aesthetics, maintaining a clean, modern, and minimalistic look using the Tailwind CSS, right? Nitin is asking, is it a premium version of ChatGPT? Yes, but even with the normal free version of ChatGPT, you can able to build that. The version is like 4.0 model is what by default it uses. But I'm using, yes, I'm using the ChatGPT Plus subscription, where the usage, like I can use like something like 5 times more than what the free user can. I'm using ChatGPT Plus subscription, right? Yeah. So here, but even with the free version also, you can get this done, but to a limited extent. So it says like I had improved the layout, typography, and overall aesthetics while maintaining a clean, modern, and minimalistic look using Tailwind CSS. So now it does something better, right? It also has some CTA button. CTA means call to action button. So let's see like how the website changes now. I go back, I'll go to about.html. And then I'll say like, this is my code, right? So now if I go to about.html, if I type, now this is better. Like it's not that great, but it's like comparatively better, right? So it has some nice, nice way of putting the things done. And if I click on click back to home, I'll be able to go there. And then if I click on trading terminal, I'll be able to get that. Maybe I need some menu also, right? Maybe in the front end, in my index.html, front end points to what? Index.html. Maybe I want to have some menu, like let's say like home and about menu. So I want to have it. So I'll say like it would be fine if I have some menu at the top. So I want menu in my probably in my um, index.html. So preferably be what I want. I want an home and about. Okay, that's what I want, right? So that's what I'm going to add here. So now what it does is like it rewrites the index.html. It adds something called nav bar. Nav bar means navigation bar, like top menu. Top menu is called as navigation bar. So now it is what it's trying to add here. It's trying to add a simple and clean navigation menu with home and about. About home points to index.html and about points to about.html. Right. So it just build those stuff. It's keep building those things. Of course, in this, because of the internet connectivity is pretty slow, but tomorrow you can see the real speed. So basically what the instruction that you are clearly giving, if you know the technology, right, you can build anything out of scratch. So that's the basic concept here. So let me copy this. I'll go back. So I'm just going to build this. I'm going to rewrite this index.html. Right. So now I go back to my terminal code. So here is my terminal code. So now we can see that it's clearly having this home and about. We are having this open terminal stuff here, home button, about button. So now some things it's still shaping up, right? So it's now it's still not a proper front end. I mean, it's still not a proper web app as such, but this is a starting point, right? So we done something to build something towards a open terminal. So what I'm going to do is like whatever the code I had done so far, I am going to push it to GitHub. So GitHub is the place where we can store our code. Publicly also we can store it, or privately we can also store it, right? So it's highly recommended that you go and get a GitHub account, and you also go and install this Git SCM. Git SCM is what it's Git SCM. Just download it. So you have to go and download this. So if you are a Windows user, you just go and install it. Maybe Mac or Linux user, they have to go and install it accordingly. So right now, in my case, I already installed this. The simple thing is just go and download 64-bit edition and install it. That's it. So just a regular installation, just normal click, install. It should be installed. Once that is done, now what I'm going to do is like I just break this application. So Control C, it will break the application. Now I'm going to upload this to my GitHub account, right? So I'm going to show you how to upload it. It's pretty simple. You just type if git scm is installed, you just simply type git init. This will initiate the GitHub. It is asking you to upload everything to the GitHub of this particular folder, basic Flask application folder. I want to install it, right? So inside this Flask application, remember my virtual environment is outside. If you try to install from your different folder, if you try to do this, then including the virtual environment will be installed. I'm sorry. This VNV folder is quite large in size. Sometimes it could be 120 MB. Sometimes it could be 500 MB. So don't upload everything. We're just going to upload only the codes only. What is necessary? Sometimes even if it's some sensitive information, we will skip it out, right? So in my case, I'll say like git init. That's what I'm going to say. So now it says like you can see here. Now you should be seeing something like this. There's a branch here. It says like source control. It says like there are number four. If I click on that, it says like there are 4 files that I'm going to upload. These are like new file changes that I had done. Do you want to upload or not? That's what it's asking me. I'll say like yes commit. I'm gonna give like init is what I'm gonna give. Initial commit. So I'm just gonna click on commit. Now it is asking me to publish the branch for the first time. So I'm gonna publish branch. It's asking me what is the application name. So I'm gonna say that as like what? Open terminal. So open terminal, right? So that's what the name I'm gonna give over here. So this is our very first basic commit. We're gonna do that. So GitHub public repository. I'm gonna publish this to GitHub public repository, right? So I'm just like that. So what is the name which I had given? Even though here I'm using what? The folder name is basic Flask app. There I had given that name as an open terminal, right? So now if I go to my GitHub account, the entire code would have been pushed over there. So GitHub/market calls, I go there. And then I go to my list of my repositories. So far, there are some 51 repositories are there. Now in that, I have this recent update is like open terminal. So I click on that open terminal. So which it says like, this is what I'm getting over here. I'm having this templates, inside templates. I'm having this about.html. I'm also having this index.html as well, right? And then I'm also having this app.py. I'm able to see this entire source code, right? I'm having this complete source code is what I'm having over here. Now, on top of this, we're also having this requirement.txt file. So in order to this application to work, I'm having this requirement.txt file, which contains what? All the Python libraries with that specific versions. Because new versions, sometimes they introduce new function, they will remove some of the old functions. So my code will work perfectly. If it is working in my machine, it will work in your machine also, provided you are installing the same exact requirements.txt libraries. So how you can install it, if you want to install it, it's pretty simple. What you have to do is like, you have to say like pip install -r requirements.txt. So when you give this and then you just type enter, exactly, it reads requirement.txt file. Whatever is the list of libraries are there, it gets installed instantly. In my case, it has been already installed, right? So nothing to do over here. All the libraries has been already installed. But if you are installing new for the first time, you have to give pip install -r requirements.txt file. That will completely install everything, right? So I hope we are clear. Are we clear so far? There are some more things to do, but so Nitin says it normally does not read the images. Yes, I think free version doesn't read the images, but yeah, paid features have those things. Is it recommended to go for a paid version? Yeah, but initially you try with some basic features, but yes, ChatGPT paid version, if you're having it, is good and well enough, right? So if you're having any doubts, you can ask me. There's a hand button is also there. Anytime you can ask questions by raising the hand option. Vaibhav is asking what is the subscription cost. So I am using ChatGPT for and premium features, ChatGPT Plus subscription, basically $20 per month. I'm also using Anthropic Claude Sonnet 3.5 model as well. Again, another $20 per month. So basically, I'm spending $40, which is equivalent to 5 developers, highly experienced developers working along with you. So all you have to do is like you just send the prompt and you get it what you want, right? So basically, without writing a single line of code. So far, we haven't written not even a single line of code, right? So basically $40, you will get like what? Some 5 developers working for you in the backend, something like that. But you can start with ChatGPT only if you start doing things. When you start doing complex things, that is where it is highly recommended that you move towards Anthropic. So do we have any questions? Are you guys clear? Like whatever that we had spoken so far? Abhijit, Ayan Banerjee, Chandrakant, Dhruv Udani, Yash, Santosh, Shafin. I think Shafin already said it's clear. Vaibhav, Yash Gupta, Yogi, and everyone. Are you guys clear? If you're clear, just type clear so that I have a clear idea that whatever that I'm trying to teach, you're able to grasp those things. It's pretty simple, straightforward. So basically, we are talking about not even about a programming language. We are talking about technology, how to build that technology using simple prompting techniques. That's what we are trying to do here, right? So Chandrakant is asking, is ChatGPT able to code AFL? Yes, ChatGPT is able to code AFL. In fact, most of our sessions, we use ChatGPT a lot. ChatGPT a lot to code AFL, Pine scripts. It doesn't matter now. You can build anything out of it. But can I build an ChatGPT in one shot? Can I build an AFL in one shot? If you ask me, there are certain issues are there. Like so still, ChatGPT is not fully an expert in building AMI broker AFL codes. Initially, it was like only 30% of the code it's able to build. But now the new models like O1 Mini that reach to a stage like it can build 70% of the code. But still, you have to fix those bugs manually. So 70% of the code, yes, that's a big achievement. It can code it. Something like PineScript, it can code something like 80%, I would say 80-85% it can code. AMI Broker, yeah, so it's like some 60 to 70% I will give. It is getting better and better in terms of building AFL codes and PineScript codes. But Python, accuracy is like 90, 95, 100. Probably I'll say like more than 90, 95%. That's a level of accuracy with Python or JavaScript or React or any other frameworks. So if you know the framework well, you can build any kind of application, web application, complex web application, simple web application. Doesn't matter. The basic thing is like you need to learn the technology. Once you know the technology better, with prompting, you can make wonders out of it. So you can bring some sort of digital creativity within you. What you exactly want to build, you can build it. As simple as that. All right. So we've done something here. Now what we are also going to do is probably we're going to host this in a terminal. Right, so we're going to host this in a web terminal. We're going to host this in a web application. So we're going to use something like Vercel here. So Vercel, maybe if you haven't heard about Vercel, Vercel is like kind of a place to host simple to complex web application. So probably since our application is simple, we're going to use it to build. So the thing is like you need to have a GitHub account and you have to connect your GitHub account. In my case, I already connected my GitHub account. These are some of the modules I had built. So these are like very basic, simple stuff here. Now I'm going to add a new application. I'm going to add a new project. So I'm going to have this open terminal to be launched. This open terminal, it is able to immediately read from my GitHub account. My GitHub account is connected. So maybe if you are signing up Vercel for the first time, it'll ask you to sign up using your GitHub account. So once you sign up, it'll asking you permission to access all your repositories. So once you're given which repository that you want to give access. So in my case, I've given access to all my repositories. So I say like I want to import my open terminal. But in order to connect to my market calls, this open terminal, I also need some Vercel configuration as well. So I just need some Vercel configuration. I'm going to take it from one of my projects. Sometime back, I had built a lot of projects, but one among them, I use it to host in Vercel. Let me check what exactly it is. So some config file is what it is required. Some Vercel config file. So I think sometime back, I had done this. What? I think probably this is one of my kids' one. Probably, I think there. Yeah. So that is like vercel.json. So I have to have this file. This config file is what I need to have it. So just copy this, right? And then I'll go to my code and then I'll just add to my existing application. So remember, follow this very closely. This is something very interesting is going to happen. I'm going to add a new file, right? So I'm just going to give a name like vercel.json. Now this vercel.json, right? I'm going to add the code here. This is the code I'm going to say. So it's telling me where is my main app.py is where is my main app? What is the route? And what version of Python I have to use, what is the version of Vercel that I'm using. So I'm just giving some basic configuration detail about Vercel. So now this new file is there in my local machine, but it is not there in my GitHub, right? So now if I want to push it up, so here you can see that there is one new changes. So whether you delete any new line of code, you add any new line of code, even a single line of code that you're going to change, everything will be tracked by the source control. So now it says like there's a small change in Vercel.file, maybe a new file has been added, right? So it also, if I click on that, it shows like what was my old one, what is my new one. So you see that old one, nothing was there. Now entire file has been created. Maybe if I say like I'll go to app.py, even I'll say like some small change I'm going to bring in. Maybe I'll say like I'm going to build one more route. I'll say like I just going to have this test route with test.html. Now this will be tracked. Even this will be tracked. So now you say like I'm just going to save it. Now you can see that number increases to 2. So now there are 2 changes has been done. Like there is like app.py. We had added one more route. Of course, test.html I haven't created it yet, but I just want to show you what was the change. So now we can see that this is my old code. What is there on the left-hand side is my old code. And this is my new code. That's what we call as a diff. The difference changes. The change in the, what changes was been done, that will be tracked by the source control application. Like GitHub kind of applications are like kind of a time machine. I can go back. What are the changes that I am committing every time? I'll be able to see that. So this case, it was showing in uh, green color, obviously. So if I'm going to push it right now, I'm just going to push this. I'll say like updated Vercel config. That's what I'm just pushing a new commit. So not entire application, not entire source code will be republished. Only the new code changes. If I had added, so here like it is not going to upload the entire app.py. It's going to upload, it's going to modify only, it's going to add only new line to that particular line. So it's going to add that. And Vercel.json, it's going to create a new file because the old file haven't contained anything. So it's going to update only the new files. Now, if I commit, now you can see that it's going to commit only, I'm going to say like save all and commit changes. So it's going to committing the changes. So now if I go to my GitHub, something very interesting I'll be able to see here. I'll tell you what is going to happen. So I'll go to my market calls. I go to this repository. I go to this open terminal, right? So in this terminal, if you could see here, so we have this app.py. Now it contains what? That's pretty weird. It should contain that test.py. I don't know. Maybe let me refresh. Says like 12 minutes ago. Basically, it should say like we had done a commit, right? Oh, I have to do sync changes. So let me do sync changes. So that whatever is there, it will be uploaded to here. Whatever is here, it will be get uploaded to there. I think the sync changes has been done. Let me try now. Yeah, I can see that it's like this particular file has been updated 1 minute ago. So if I go to the app.py, I should be able to see that this is my new code, right? So the test.html is available here. And we also have this Vercel.json for hosting in Vercel. This configuration file is very, very important, right? Okay, so we have this. And now, even more something interesting is going to happen here. You can see that there are 2 commits. So when I done the first commit, how the code looks like. So this is my initial commit. This is my first commit. When I had done this commit, what was the code status? These are the codes I had added. So you see that +1. So these are the code I had added. If I would have deleted anything, it would have shown as minus. So now this is my first commit. So there are 4 file changes. I can download this file if I can go to this particular browsing files and I can able to download only this particular file. I can go back and download only for this set of code. So means this is my older version. My new version will be like what? So if I go to my open terminal and from here I go to my commits, it's like time machine, right? So if I go to my commits, I'll be able to see my recent commit. Like 2 minutes ago, I had committed one thing which contains Vercel configuration. Older code doesn't has the Vercel configuration. Now this new code has the latest configuration. So now you can see here like 2 files has been added. One is like app.py. It shows the diff of that. Old version doesn't has that. New version has that test. So what new changes has been added, deleted, everything I'll be able to see it in the GitHub, right? So why this is helpful, I'll tell you. When right now I'm a only single developer, but maybe my applications will have like 10 developers or 100 developers. So going forward, when the application is getting bigger and bigger, more and more developers has to work. So every developer has to work independently, and they'll be writing codes independently, and they'll be committing. So when multiple developers are working, this GitHub kind of projects will be super helpful, right? That is why GitHub is so popular, because many people contribute to open source projects like WordPress, Linux, so big projects, Android Studio, right? So many open source projects people had committed, like VLC player, media player. So you name many popular apps, a lot of open source web apps are there. Even in Open Algo, there are already 5 developers had given their commitments. So they built some cool features out of it, added new brokers. So on top of whatever the code I had done, they had done some changes. So anybody can come and contribute also, right? So this is like kind of a time machine. I can go back and see any time whatever committed code I had done. I'll be able to upload. I'll be able to go back to that code. I come back to the new version, so that I can roll back to my previous code. Everything we can do using GitHub. It can do more than that, but GitHub functions like a time machine, right? So of course you can always go back. You can go back. You cannot go to the future, but you can always go backwards, and you can navigate that particular version of commit. Even if there is some issues with the current version, you can always switch back to old version. That is totally possible with GitHub. So when I am committing the code, what it does is like push. When I am want to render that code, what I do something called pull. So pull means I am retrieving the code. I'm going to consume the application. Push means whatever the code I had written, I'll be pushing it to the GitHub. That's what a push is all about, right? So push and pull is what basically you need to know about in GitHub for version management. And now, since we updated this Vercel configuration, now I should be able to deploy this in Vercel. So I'll go and say like, I'm going to import this in Vercel. I'm going to give a project name as Open Terminal, right? And then I'll just say like framework preset. Do I see Python here? Python or Flask something? No, nothing. So I'll say like other itself. And it should contain a requirement.txt file. It should contain Vercel.json. Because whenever it's installing, it looks into the requirement.txt file. It knows that it's a Python application. So how does Vercel knows that my code is Python application? Because of the configuration. In my configuration, I said that the Vercel.json is using Python, right? So it knows Python. So it looks for requirement.txt file. So it install only these version libraries it will install. So that in Vercel also this application should work fine. All right, so let me click on deploy. So now it will be deploying in Vercel. It's kind of a serverless application. It uses Amazon AWS in the backend, but Vercel act like kind of an platform as a service. Yeah, so the Vercel application has been deployed. So hopefully, yeah, it says like it's crashing. That means something has been missed out. I don't know why, but let's try it out. Why it is missing? It's still not deployed properly. Am I missing anything else? If I try to visit, of course, it's gonna break. I'm pretty sure. It says like authenticating. It says like the serverless function had crashed. Connection is working properly. Vercel is working properly. It crashed. Let me check why it got crashed. More or less, what we built is a basic application only. It says like 58 seconds ago. Let's see the logs, build logs, why it failed or where it failed. Due to builds existing in your configuration file, the build and development settings defined in your project. Maybe the configuration file might be pretty different, or maybe I'll try with some different config file. So sometime back, I built something like stock market dashboard. Let me check it out. Stock market dashboard. I think I just uploaded this in Vercel, if I'm not wrong. No, not this one. Not this one. Definitely not this one. I think stock market web app. I think last time one of my session I had done this. So obviously I have this vercel.json. Maybe if the config file is little different, it may crash. I don't know whether this is old one or new one, but I can always copy this and I can paste it. If it is same, I'll not get any changes over here. If it is not same, definitely I'll be getting some difference in values. You can see like it's saying like some difference is there. What difference? We can go back and check this out. Can click. So I think only line difference it is like app.py use Vercel at Python same. Source is also more or less, I think it is same. Nothing changes. Version is same. I think more or less it's same only. Only the text difference was there. This is my old code. The red says like these lines has been removed and the green line says these lines are added. That's what it says, but I don't see any difference over here. Don't see any difference. Let me commit it. Okay, that's my third commit I had done, but I don't see any difference in my old code as well as new code. Let's see if what are any other changes we can see it in Vercel. Installing required dependencies, completed, build completed in Vercel output, deploying outputs, deploy completed, build cache uploaded. Even in deployment summary, I say like no framework detected, functions, app.py. It's able to see that it's using Python 3.12. This is our web link. It's a custom domain where I can access my web application of Vercel. It still says like you can check the logs. Let me check the logs. Am I able to spot anything? So it's trying to access the main route, but I'm getting this assertion error. View function mapping is overwriting. Right. So I'm just getting some error in Vercel. So I just copy this and I'll say like what ChatGPT is likely to see. I don't know why this is crashing, but ideally it should work good, but maybe am I making any mistakes or not? Let me try to get some help from ChatGPT. I'll say like I'm trying to deploy my web app to where? So to Vercel. This is the error I'm getting. So I'm not even going to say like help me fixing it. So it's understand that there is an error. So I have to go, it has to go and fix it. So let's see what it's trying to do to fix it. Maybe it says like some test / test. I think we should not done that. I think I think I have to remove that because / test, right? I haven't pointed it to anything else. Let's see if that is the issue. I don't know, but let's see that. Now, what is saying like you are seeing assertion error. View function is mapping with overview an existing point function about. Okay, what the issue was like, I am able to figure out the issue. So in our app.py, I just copied the / test, right? It's also having that about function. This is also having the about function. That's what it's saying. Like, so for timing, I just remove this about test function because we haven't connected with anything else. Or I have just changed it to like test function. It should not have the same duplicate names. And that's the only thing. So what I'll do is like I just remove this entire test function for time being because we don't need that. So I'll just save it. So now I'll say like updated app.py, and then I'm going to commit it. So when I commit, it will be pushed to the GitHub. So I'm going to click on commit. Of course, I have to give some message and then click on commit and then save changes. Now, once I had done this, right? Now GitHub code will be created. Once the GitHub code is updated, my Vercel also, if you see the deployment, it's gonna deploy a new application here. Now immediately it sends the change in GitHub instantly, and it start deploying that code. That's what it does basically. So if I go to the deployment, let's see. Let me go to market calls projects. So if I go to open terminal, so you can see that it says like, yeah, so now we are getting something, right? So now You can see that if I click on visit, I should be able to see that, yeah, now it says like, welcome to open terminal, empowering traders with precision and speed, right? And about. So Vercel, we can use it for small projects to host our small projects, but you cannot use it for hosting like larger projects like a trading terminal. For that, we need to have some dedicated machines like Amazon AWS or uh, something like a DigitalOcean. Some simple tiny application. Yes, you can always use Vercel. It's free to host. You can, if you are a Python starter, you want to build some basic web application, Vercel is the first place. A lot of similar hosting plays like Vercel. One is Vercel, and then yeah, so Vercel is one of the popular one. There are a lot many things are there. Python Anywhere is there, and then Railway app is there. So a lot of things are there, but Vercel is the go-to place for the people who are very new to Python. They want to test some Python web application and they want to try some hosting. So it's easy to host, right? And you do any changes, all you have to do is like you just push it to GitHub and you're gonna see that changes instantly in your Vercel. Immediately it does a redeployment. So whatever the new code that you're pushing, it will be immediately available in the Vercel automatically. It consumes the new code and deploys the new code automatically. That's what something called as a continuous integration, continuous deployment. All right, so we know how to host in Vercel now, which eventually requires Vercel configuration. And then what we are also going to do is like we're going to connect to our some of the test domain. So let's say like I'm going to go to Cloudflare. That is where I host my market calls. So for time being, I'm going to connect it to one of my domain here. So let me log in to Cloudflare. In many big companies are already moved to Cloudflare, like Zerodha is using Cloudflare. Many top companies these days are using Cloudflare for security purpose and for hosting purpose. Yes, it says like I should verify that I'm a human. Login. So what I'm going to do is I go to my deployment. So from the deployment, I'll say like I want to connect my custom domain. Just want to connect my domain. So where should I go? Where should I go? Basically, there should be some configuration stuff. In domains, maybe I'll go to domains. I'll say like I'm going to connect a new domain. Probably not here. I already connected my domains. Let me check here. Manage domains. Yeah. So I just go to my open terminal project in the dashboard. I'll go to manage domains. So from the manage domains, I should be adding my own domain, right? So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to add my own domain. So let's say go here. Then I'll go inside marketcalls.in. I'll go to my DNS. Then I'm going to add a new record over here. I'll say like the new record is something like I'm going to add an A record, or probably I have to add a C record. Let's see what Vercel is supposed to say. So I'm going to say like terminal dot marketcalls.in. That's the domain name I want to connect with. I click on add. So it's asking me to configure the CNAME record. The value, this is a value it should configure. With the name, CNAME is a terminal. So I go back over here to my DNS. I'll say like a CNAME. The thing is like the terminal. That's what it says, like terminal.marketcalls.in. The target is I'm gonna send it to Vercel. So cname.vercel-dns.com. If I click on save, now what should be happening is like if I access terminal.vercel, terminal.marketcalls.in, I should be able to access my portal. So let's say, so this is like kind of a different domain here. So now we can see that it's able to sense that it is able to connect to the configuration. It's working fine. Terminal.marketcalls.in is working fine. It is also generating some SSL certificate for security purpose. So it comes up with some HTTPS certificate. which you can readily see that it's taking some time, probably like some 30 seconds or so. In the meantime, I'll take some of the questions. Yeah, I think Ayan Banerjee said it right. It's because of slash test. Yeah, that is perfectly fine. Heroku is something similar like Vercel. If you ask me, yes, absolutely. Yes, Heroku is also kind of serverless application. Like Google Cloud is providing in the name of AppSpot. The thing is like Vercel, you can start with free of cost, right? Yeah. Right. So still the SSL certificate is getting generated. So let me summarize whatever we had done so far. So I showed you the procedure for installing VS Code and what are the extension that you have to install. Of course, Git SCM you need to install for GitHub if you want to push your content from your local machine to GitHub. You have to use Git SCM. You have to download it and then you have to install it. So once you are done with that, I showed you how to run a basic Python application, a simple hello world kind of application. But then we also modified using ChatGPT. Anyways, I'll be end of the day, I'll be up as well. Along with that, we had structured it in a well-formed manner using Tailwind CSS. So using Tailwind CSS, we can build a beautiful website out of thin air. And we had given even some image prompt we had given, some image details about open terminal we had given about that. It created two routes, slash route and about route. And the about route was like kind of comprehensive. We also able to build some navigation bar at the top menu bar in the home route. The home route is pointing to index.html. We added Vercel configuration. We tried to deploy it. There was some issue. The issue was like there was some coding issue in the Python itself. So we have to remove the slash test route. After that, the deployment went fine. Now we are able to access it. Now we are trying to connect to terminal.marketcost.in. So now if I go to my terminal.marketcalls.in, I should be able to see this application running fine, exactly like which was running locally. So now this is running locally. You can see that this application here. Okay. Let me run this application locally, right? So Python app.py. Now this application is running locally in this particular link, right? So control click, which only I can use it, which I can access it, right? So maybe if you want to run in your maybe let's say like if I'm connected to my same device, let's say like I just what I do is like in my code I just say like comma host equal to, if I say like 0.0.0.0. So when I say this, if the host is going to be 0.0.0, I'll tell you what will happen. If I type python app.py, it is running in my particular IP. So you can, maybe if you are running in your home router, you can open your mobile, and even you can access this from your mobile. Internally, in your internal network, you can access it from your mobile, and you can try this out. Maybe if I try this in my mobile application, it should be working fine. The same way like how it works, right? So this is like, I'm able to run this locally. I think I should be able to run this locally also. I'm running locally, and this is now anybody can in my network. So I'm having a router in my home and office. So anybody is able to access at my home or at my office. So right now I'm not at office. I'm not at my home. I'm in my private hotel. So anybody in my hotel could be able to access this IP, and they'll be able to access this application. But this one here, we hosted in the internet. Now anybody in the entire planet can access this application. All they have to do is like terminal.marketcalls.in. Maybe if you're not able to access it, maybe sometimes the DNS propagation might get delayed. Maybe 1 or 2 hours later, you can try it out. Terminal.marketcalls.in. You should be able to access it, right? So that is what today's session is all about. So we had done some basic Flask application, but Flask is more than that, right? So what we had done is like we kickstarted something with Flask. We kickstarted something with Tailwind. But tomorrow, what we will be doing is like we'll try to log into the broker account, and then we'll do some basic authentication. We download the master contract. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to push it into some database. So we're going to do some connectivity with some database. We're going to build some login application. So basic login, that is what we're going to do. And then basic API access. So tomorrow it's all about building, so learning Flask one step better and trying to solve the authentication procedure. So slightly complex things are coming in. But remember one thing, we're not even going to touch one single line of code. We're going to write manually. Everything we're going to build using the prompting application itself. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, more or less, we can call it as a day. Yeah, Shafin says like he's able to access it. But remember, the thing like open terminal, can I able to host it in Vercel itself? If you ask me, it's not recommended because Vercel is serverless. Maybe for non-sensitive application, it works good, but not for sensitive application like a trading terminal, real time where we have to punch orders faster. It is not possible in Vercel. Maybe the order might get delayed like 2 to 3 seconds or sometimes even 4 seconds. It's not recommended because it's serverless, right? So we need some dedicated server. So Vercel is only for if you want to test some applications, Vercel is fine. But some production grade application, will I host it in Vercel? If you ask me, absolutely no. Initially, I tried with OpenAlgo. I was facing challenges in response, like it was not pretty faster because the nature of the serverless is like uh, it when it was idle for like 10 minutes, it goes to sleep. So only if I try to access again terminal.marketcalls.in, then it wakes up and that reboot time will take like some 1 or 2 seconds. So it gets warm up. It takes some little time. So non-sensitive applications, yes, it works beautifully. Sensitive applications, like real-time applications where time-critical things, you should not host in serverless environment like Heroku or Vercel. So that exercise, I had already done that. So you should also should not be doing it if in case we are building some full-fledged web terminal, trading terminal. But something non-sensitive, yes, always you can host it. So Yash Gupta is asking, are we going to use Angel's Python library or directly the REST API? Does it make any difference? Yes, a very valid question. So I'm going to tell you, we are not going to use somebody else's Python code because I'll tell you why. That Python code is built for traders to build strategies, not for building application. If you are building application, you should be using the REST framework right from the scratch. So we will be using the raw API, not the Python libraries provided by Angel. It is not recommended also because tomorrow I'll tell you why it is not recommended. Because once you know the context, you will get to know like why we should not be using it. If I want to build an application like Angel, because these libraries are designed for individual users. Let's say I'm going to build an application where multiple users are going to log into my application. That's not possible because they don't have the facility. They haven't given the facility in their Python library. Angel has something called a Smart API Python library. So that is mostly designed for individual users. But what we are going to build is for not for individual user. We're going to build it for multi-user. So when I'm going to build it for multi-user, yes, I cannot use their library because their libraries are designed for single user. So I may have to use the raw APIs only, right? So maybe tomorrow, once we start with the coding, so we'll try something basic about Python application with their raw APIs. I'll tell you how to use that, how to use prompting, how to get the things done, how to do the authentication, how to download the master contract and everything. I think, I don't know whether tomorrow we'll be able to make it or not, but maybe even tomorrow also we may have to do some one more round of some basic things we might try to cover. I think probably we will try to build some basic login application. We will be trying to integrate with database. So how the database concept works, how the data will be get pushed into the data. So that I think, if possible, I'll try to show some. I'll start with basic APIs, but it doesn't matter whatever the API could be. Like it could be Abstracts API, it could be Angel API, but highly recommended that you always have the Angel API. Particularly if you're a beginner, it's highly recommended. Maybe even you can go and open a trading account also. It doesn't matter. because probably in 1 or 2 days time you can able to open a trading account, right? So without that also you can, yes, you can mimic with your own trading account, but procedure is going to be different every time with different brokers. I had experience myself because in OpenAlgo I already integrated almost 10 different brokers. I had integrated every broker. The methodology is different, right? From authentication, the downloading the master contract, and placing orders, everything is different. Every format is different, right? So Angel is something that a beginner can always start with. All right, so let me know if there are any more questions. Otherwise, more or less, we can, as I said, we can call it as a day. So Vaibhav is asking, what is an open algo? Is it like Python library for OMS? Absolutely not. Open algo is like kind of an trading bridge, which can be hosted in your own domain, or you can run locally in your Mac or in Windows or something like that, which you can use it to transmit orders from your AMI broker or Python or from TradingView. Yeah, the tutorials are already online. You can always go to openalgo.in and you can check it out. Or you can also go and check out the documentation part there. It's a completely open source trading bridge as of now, but it can do more going forward. So Dhruv Udani is asking about what is the difference between serverless and dedicated server. See, serverless is cheaper, and so maybe your cost will be down. It's some repeated task or some simple web pages, which is non-sensitive. You can host in serverless. Very cheaper. Dedicated server will be slightly costlier. Dedicated server or cloud servers are like slightly pricey compared to serverless, right? So serverless, uh, something like for algorithmic trading kind of application, you should avoid serverless because, as I said, it is going to take time to punch orders. But if it is time sensitive, you have to deploy it in cloud or maybe some VPS or dedicated server kind of. Right. So serverless, they always, after 10 minutes or so, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it will go dormant. So somebody have to wake up. If I'm asking a query, so let's say if I am now pressing now, after 10 minutes, nobody is accessing this. If I am pressing now, it will take some time. So maybe as of now, I'm not able to visualize it. But when you try to place orders, I had literally able to get that. It's not taking the orders immediately. It's taking like some 4 to 5 seconds to place the first order. Next order onwards, it takes like 200 milliseconds. But first order always goes like very 4 seconds it takes because it does the cold rebooting, it gets warm, and then now it will be able to process queries. So now it will be active for next to 10 minutes. Next 10 minutes, if somebody in the world is again accessing, it will remain warm. Always it remains warm, it will be active, it will be processing the request instantly. But after 10 minutes of silence, again it gets into dormant, right? If nobody is accessing it. So as long as your application is always warm, yes, the application works good. Otherwise, it requires some small cold reboot kind of stuff, and then it gets warm. And that is how the serverless works. It's way cheaper, right? In Amazon, they called us like Amazon Lambda. I think more or less Vercel is using that Amazon. Lambda is what it is using. Heroku is one example. Python Anywhere. Almost most of the offerings like Google App Spot, many players are providing that. And in fact, there are a lot of alternatives to Vercel itself. So you just simply type Vercel alternative. Similar to Vercel, there are a lot of copycats has been there. Vercel alternative, right? Alternatives. Netlify is one another thing. And GitHub, they have their own stuff similar to Vercel. Microsoft Azure, AWS, Cloudflare, they have recently, they came up similar to that. Firebase, DigitalOcean, something called DigitalOcean app, right? So I tried it out, but I'm not liking it. It's Vercel and Netlify is the most simplest one. So I tried Vercel, I tried Netlify. Both works really charm. Particularly for the beginners, you can try with Vercel or Netlify. Heroku, I think it's slightly pricey. There is no free plan, I believe, right now. So maybe if you are a free plan, definitely you're gonna love. If you're having something like $5 or $2 per month, something like that, they have some plans. But Netlify and Vercel is like totally free of cost. All right, so let me pause here. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll discuss more about it. I'm sure definitely tomorrow you're gonna learn something new about it. So what you can do is like right now, you can uh, try to create a GitHub account, try to create some Flask application, try to build some application and push it to your GitHub account. And from GitHub, you push it to Vercel. right? I'm also going to share this link as well. You can keep a note of it. You just go to github.com/market calls. So there you'll be able to see the code for your reference. Right? Go to the GitHub repository, market calls repository, and then from there you can go to the open terminal. Here is the link. You can access those links there. Anyways, I'll be uploading all these, what are the applications, what we built. I will be uploading it probably not today because right now I'm going to take my flight. So I'll be back around Bangalore around 1 o'clock. Maybe I'll go there and then I'll upload all the contents. Right. So as of now, you can access this. Right. So here you can refer all the codes over there. So tomorrow we'll try to add some more context to this open terminal. We're gonna keep improving this application. Every improvement, every commit that we're gonna do, everything will be uploaded to the portal itself. So tomorrow we'll try to do more on that. See you tomorrow. Thank you. When this recording will be available, I think automatically probably another 1 hour from here or maybe 1.5 hours from here. Automatically, the processing will be done. After 1.5 hours of processing, it will be automatically available in the portal. Right? Nobody need to manually upload anything. Automatically, it will be available. Every recording of our session will be automatically available. So see you in tomorrow's session. Thank you.